Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 5th of August and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis. So friends, in the video we are going to discuss the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper along with the background as well as the way forward in the relevant articles. Now guys, I would like to remind you that you can download the explainer PDF of the articles from our Telegram channel. The link for the Telegram channel has been given in the description box, so you can download it. Now, let's first of all take the overview of the entire newspaper in order to understand that which articles are important in the today's newspaper. So this is the page number 1, the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper, and here we can see that the first article, it's talking about the Kerala stares at the repeat of 2018 flood as rain fury continues. So basically in 2018 a devastating flood came in the Kerala. Now guys, again the same kind of a situation seems to be repeating in the Kerala. Fine. So guys, this is the issue. Now basically you don't need to go too much in detail in this particular article because it is majorly talking about the districts which are affected, the number of people who are affected and all these particular kind of things. Now as we will be moving on this particular line, many of the editorials will actually be coming in few days which actually identifies the major causes behind these kind of things as why repeatedly such a kind of a things are being coming. So that particular dimension will be academically important. However, this particular article per se is not important. Please don't waste your time in seeing all these things that the districts, number of people, etc. are not important for the examination. Then China holds the military drills fire missiles near the Taiwan. So guys, we have seen that recently the US speaker Nancy Pelosi has visited the Taiwan, and because of that particular thing China is frustrated and all these particular things are happening. Now guys, in this particular direction, India's studied silence also we are going to discuss today. Fine. Then the advertisements etc. are not important. String of deaths. So basically guys, for flying the kite, this particular manja, the thread that it is used, but this particular manja, it has basically this particular thing is many a times dangerous. Many of the people got injured because of this particular thing. So a ban, fine, the NGT had said that the ban of such manja needs to be there. Then guys, further moving on, the regional news etc., advertisements and all these things are there. You don't need to go in this particular direction. Fine. So and then the Metro Plus page, majorly the lifestyle, leisure, culture and lifestyle etc. are provided here. Fine. With respect to the UPSC, substance is not there in the page. Then moving on, after that guys, directly you will be reaching to the editorial page. Fine. Into meanwhile there are no relevant articles for the examination. Moreover guys, if you are having the different edition of the Hindu newspaper, the regional section might be different, but very rarely some of the academically relevant article comes here. Then coming to the editorial page. On the editorial page, the first article talks about waiting for democracy in Jammu and Kashmir. So now on the 5th, now we are celebrating 5th of August, third anniversary of the change with respect to the article 370. So we'll discuss this article. Then remembering an expulsion. So with respect to the India-Uganda, we'll see this particular article. Then guys, SOP or welfare debate. So this article is talking about on the issue of the irrational freebie. We'll see this article. Then further moving on, dialing right. So basically government should ensure that the exchequer should get the benefit from the sale of the spectrum by the 5G. So guys, as the 5G services are to be rolled out, for that particular thing the 5G spectrum has is being sold. So the proceeds should be calculated, should come in such a way that the exchequer should get the benefit out of that. Fine. However guys, you don't need to see that okay how much rupees got collected, which company paid what amount and all these things which have been discussed. Then is declining rupee a crisis or an opportunity? We'll see this particular article. After that guys, on the text and the context, the coal mining in Hasdeo Aranya region is being discussed. We'll see this article. Then the Kansas win on abortion and its bearing on other US states. So guys, basically here we have seen that basically the in the Kansas, which is in the USA, a referendum was carried on the abortion. Fine. However guys, with respect to India, such kind of a thing is not having too much of implication, but you need to generally have an idea that this particular year the abortion is going to be important issue. Why? Because on the abortion, Roe versus Wade judgment of 1973 of the USA has been reversed. So the 1973 judgment of the USA earlier provided the abortion rights to the women. But now the US Supreme Court in 2022 has provided that there is no right to abortion with the women. The states are free that they can decide whether they want to give it or not. So with that, the abortion has become an important issue. Even in our newspaper articles multiple times, fine, I think through 3-4 times we have discussed this abortion issue with respect to that, the stand of India, the MTP Act of 2021 and all those things. Then moving on, the need for hope in the times of despair. Now this particular article, it's talking about the cinema, the movies, fine. However, with respect to the exam related stuff is not there in this particular article. Okay, moving on. After that, guys, page number 14, majorly here the political news etc. has been given. Much important things are not there in this particular thing. Then, guys, New Delhi maintains the studied silence on the Taiwan crisis. So this studied silence on the Taiwan crisis, what this studied silence is and all those things we are going to discuss. Okay, then guys, further Navy's women pilot charts a new course. So basically, guys, into the maritime mission we are showcasing the Nari Shakti. Is it clear or not? So basically, into the Nari Shakti, find the women naval officers who have been cleared for the all women independent maritime basically mission that is being dogged here. Then moving on, after that, CJ proposes the Justice U. Lalit as successor. Fine. Now, guys, who is changing as a CGI? Fine. And all those particular kind of things, the name of ministers, the name of the judges of the Supreme Court, etc. These details are important for the other examinations such as the SSC bank, but not for the UPSC. For the UPSC, you need to know the issues, you need to see the themes. Fine. Then moving on. After that, the political articles etc. not very much important. Then, guys, in this particular direction here, Sri Lanka and its commitment to one China policy has been discussed. So this particular article also will see. Now after the Taiwan, the Nancy Pelosi, the US's speaker, has wrapped up the meet into the South Korea. Now, guys, the South Korea also, so as the Taiwan was a kind of a little bit became controversial due to the China, the South Korea's visit might also become little bit controversial because the North Korea had now not liked whenever the South Korea has created the deep relations with the USA. So in that particular direction, this could also be such a kind of a controversial thing. Moreover, the North Korea has been little bit more close towards the China. So on that particular thing also, the North Korea and the China can come together. Then moving on, inflation driving 8% of GST's revenue rise, BOE raises rates by most since 1995. These articles actually with respect to the examination are not that much important, so you need not to go too much into the detail in this. Then after that, the spectrum allocation, find the rupees kids 25 paise on the weak exports, find the evolutionary and basically kind of a evolutionary and the developmental details are there. Then moving on, after that we have the sports page. So guys, this is the entire overview of the entire newspaper, and now let's discuss all the relevant articles, all of these one by one in the detail. Now, so starting up, in every class we start with a GS quotation that we can use in our one of the GS papers. So today we are going to take the quotation from the Benjamin Disraeli. So Benjamin Disraeli says that power has only one duty, that is to secure the social welfare of the people. So the constructive use of the power, the positive use of the power and the humanitarian use of power has been discussed by Benjamin Disraeli. So power, if it can be utilized for the public welfare and the social welfare, that is the legitimate use and the ethical use of power. Fine, you can use this particular idea in GS paper number 4, ethics, integrity and aptitude. Now taking up the first article, the coal mining protest in Hasdeo Aranya region. Fine, the coal mining protest in Hasdeo Aranya region. Now guys, this particular article we are going to see with respect to the GS paper number 3, ecology versus development debate. Now, before moving in this particular article, I would like to tell you some of a background. So guys, the background goes like this, that in the Chhattisgarh, a private member resolution has been adopted against the coal mining projects that are being given the clearances into the Hasdeo Aranya forest. Now the Hasdeo Aranya forest is in the Chhattisgarh, into the north central region of Chhattisgarh, and this particular forest is very much important in terms of the biodiversity. This particular forest is an important region for the, it is an important catchment area for many of the important rivers. Fine. It is also important for the elephant corridor that is there in this particular region. Fine. Now guys, first of all, let's discuss some of the basic information. See, what is this private member resolution that has been adopted by the Chhattisgarh Assembly? So basically, who is a private member? Basically any legislator, for example in the state legislative assembly, any MLA is a private member, I belonging either to a ruling government or to the opposition if he is not a minister. So any member who is not a minister, fine, will be the private member. Fine, he can belong to the ruling government, he can belong to the opposition government. Now guys, there are two things. There is a private members resolution and then there are the private members bill. Okay, now guys, the private members resolution, it is just showing an intent, it is just showing an approval or a disapproval towards any particular thing. If a private member resolution is adopted by the assembly, it means the entire intention of the house. Clear? Private members bill are different. If private member bill is adopted and it passed, this private member bill will become a law. But the private member resolution will not become a law because it is simply an intention of a house. Now in this particular case, what has happened, this private member resolution has been adopted, so it is not going to become any kind of a law or such kind of thing. Please keep it in your mind. So basically, moving on. Now guys, the Hasdeo Aranya forest, as we discussed, fine, it is called as the lungs of the Chhattisgarh. Why it is called as the lungs of the Chhattisgarh? Because of the rich and the dense forest cover that is there. So because of that, it is called as the lungs of the Chhattisgarh. And now into the actually past 1 year, this Hasdeo Aranya basically forest has been many times into the news because many times the political parties have criticized the central government's decision where the central government had allocated the coal mines in this particular region. Fine. So recently a private members resolution has been adopted by Chhattisgarh Assembly. I already have explained you the difference between this resolution and bill and all these things. Now let's discuss a little bit about this Hasdeo Aranya and this present controversy. Now number one, Aranya means forest. Aranya means forest and the name Hasdeo comes from the name of the Hasdeo river. So basically this Hasdeo Aranya, this particular region is the catchment area of the Hasdeo river which originates from here. Now Hasdeo river, it is the tributary of the Mahanadi. It is the tributary of the Mahanadi. Fine, and this originates into the Chhattisgarh, fine, and then it flows through the Odisha and finally it discharges in the Bay of Bengal. So Hasdeo, fine, very important tributary of Mahanadi. Now further moving on, this Hasdeo forest, it is also catchment area for this Hasdeo Bango Dam. Now Hasdeo Bango Dam, it is an important reservoir which provides a lot of water for the irrigation of the paddy. Now guys, the paddy is a important and a major crop of the Chhattisgarh. Fine, so for paddy also it is very much important. Then guys, when we talk about this particular forest, this forest is ecologically very much sensitive. It has a rich biodiversity. Then there are the large migratory corridors for the elephants. Now elephant corridors, they facilitate the movement of elephant from one part of the forest to another part of the forest. So this Hasdeo Aranya, it is a part of the elephant corridor also. So therefore for them, there should not be any development activity, there should not be any infrastructure, there should not be any mine or such kind of things, so that the elephants can be preserved. Then after that, but at the same time guys, there is one issue is that the Hasdeo is important ecologically, but at the same time beneath the Hasdeo there is a rich coal reserves that are there. So when we talk about the Hasdeo coal field, Hasdeo Aranya coal field, it under that there are the 22 coal blocks that are there. Now guys, basically if you see, by 2070 we had adopted the carbon neutrality, but before that, into these 50 years, the coal is going to be the major fuel. Right now basically India is even importing a lot of coal because coal happens to be an important source of the electricity, thermal electricity in India. So in this particular line, we want to explore the coal which is beneath the Hasdeo Aranya forest. However guys, in 2010, the Hasdeo Aranya was declared as a no-go zone for mining. No-go zone means that here the mining cannot be done. But actually government changed its viewpoint. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, after that, give a clearance to one of a coal mining block. It gave a clearance, and as of today, out of the 22 coal blocks that are there into this Hasdeoranya forest, out of the 22, the 7 have been allocated to the different mining industries, etc. And apart from that, there are the 4 other coal blocks which have been listed that government is open for auctioning them also. And this entire thing has become a kind of a controversy. The state government says that no, such auction should not be done because it is disastrous with respect to the environment, ecology. Many of the tribals, elephants, all will be getting disturbed. Fine. So for this particular thing, basically the private member resolution has been adopted. So guys, I hope that you have understood this particular article. Fine. And all these background, which is also important. I hope you understood it. And now we'll move to the next article. Now guys, here in this particular article discussion, we have clubbed here the 2 articles. Both have been in the Hindu newspaper and both are talking about the Taiwan issue. So basically the first article that we are going to discuss is that the New Delhi maintains a studied silence on the Taiwan crisis, and the second article is Sri Lanka firmly committed to one China policy. Now guys, before going in this particular article, little bit of a background. Fine, though we are discussing this particular thing from the past 2 days, but still let's again recap the background. So guys, the background goes like this, that when we talk about the Taiwan, in relation to the Taiwan, China maintains the one China principle. As per this one China principle, China says that Taiwan is not an independent country. It is not a completely sovereign nation. According to the China, Taiwan, it is a part of a mainland China only. And the China, as per this one China principle, asks the countries that if they want to make a diplomatic relation with the mainland China, People's Republic of China, then they cannot recognize Taiwan as an independent country. Fine. However, some of our countries are allowed to maintain the cultural ties with the Taiwan, some of our trade ties with the Taiwan, but Taiwan as an independent nation should not be recognized by the other countries if they want to make a relation with the mainland China, that is the People's Republic of China. Moreover, the China also believes that on one day Taiwan will further be fully integrated within the China. So as Hong Kong national security legislation was imposed by the China in 2020. So in the same way, they want to reunite the Taiwan also with the China with the coming time. But as of now, Taiwan doesn't recognizes or doesn't resonates with this China's view. Taiwan says that no, we are an independent country. Now guys, whenever a country wants to or tries to cultivate an independent relation with the Taiwan, it invites the backlash of the China. And in this particular direction, now what has happened, US House of Representative Speaker Nancy Pelosi, she has visited the Taiwan. Now this particular thing has invited a lot of frustration, a lot of basically it has invited a kind of a wrath of the China. Fine. Moreover, the China has also said that we are going to carry the targeted attacks around the Taiwan in the Taiwan Straits, and they are doing that particular thing. Now guys, as this particular episode has happened that the Nancy Pelosi has visited the Taiwan, what is the India's stand? This is we are going to discuss here in this particular article. So guys, when we talk about the India's stand on this particular issue, now all the countries are giving their reactions. When India was asked that okay, what is their reaction, India had maintained the studied silence. Okay, now guys, understand one particular thing. Just the day before yesterday newspaper discussion, if you have seen, I have explained you there the 2 concepts, that is the strategic ambiguity and the strategic clarity. So strategic ambiguity and strategic clarity were with respect to the USA's response on Taiwan. So USA earlier maintained a strategic ambiguity where it neither said that Taiwan is an independent nation nor said that the Taiwan is a part of China, it is nothing but a part of China. So strategic ambiguity was there in the USA's response. Then USA changed its view from strategic ambiguity to the strategic clarity after the coming of the Donald Trump Taiwan Relation Act, Taipei Act. All these things have been passed. Already we have discussed into the day before yesterday analysis. Now what is India's response on Taiwan? It is the studied silence. What is the meaning of studied silence? It is that India doesn't want wants to frustrate China into the present times, because already the India and China confrontation are going around the LAC, around the Galwan region. If India will make any comment onto the Taiwan, it will further infuriate the China, and for India's national security concern, that particular thing will be little bit problematic. So India had taken a calculated decision where India has not passed any comment. Fine, just a minute. Where India has not just a minute. Fine. So here India had not passed any comment on the Taiwan. Okay. Now, basically, guys, what has happened recently? The Minister of External Affairs has even participated in the ASEAN India Summit. Fine, ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nation. Fine, ASEAN India Summit that held into the Phnom Penh. Now Phnom Penh is in Cambodia. So in the Cambodia, the ASEAN India Summit was held. There the Minister of External Affairs participated, but on Taiwan he did not said anything into this particular ASEAN Summit. What things are discussed, that also will discussed. So guys, here basically the issues have been discussed with respect to the connectivity. Okay, just a minute. So basically here what issues have been discussed. Fine. So the issues that have been discussed are the ASEAN countries connectivity, Indo-Pacific region, how the Indo-Pacific region can be maintained as a region of prosperity, region of trade. Fine. How the Indo-Pacific, there needs to be the free trade. Fine. All these things. UN clause, United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Seas. So United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Seas recognizes the rights of the countries with respect to the EEZ. Fine. It recognizes the, basically it maintains that there should be the free navigation, high seas should not be under the control of any one country. Okay, all these things. Then the connectivity, COVID-19 response, terrorism has been discussed. Fine. Cyber security has been discussed, that now how the cyber security and the response of the cyber security of the countries need to be enhanced. Ukraine and Myanmar has been discussed. So guys, with respect to the Ukraine and Russia war, there is a lot of instability that is coming into the Myanmar, the military regime that is there. A lot of criticisms have come that human right violation are happening. Fine. So all these particular issues, connectivity, UN clause, COVID-19, cyber security has been discussed, but in this particular thing without referencing the Taiwan situation. Fine. Now guys, in this particular direction, why we are doing this particular thing? In order to avoid the controversy with China. Now guys, let's see the India's historic viewpoint on the Taiwan. So basically, when we talk about the India's historic foreign policy with respect to the Taiwan, we have actually followed the One China principle since 1949. So since 1949, we have followed the One China principle, but at the same time, we also maintain the cultural as well as the trade ties with the Taiwan. We also maintain the trade and the cultural ties with the Taiwan. Now guys, understand this particular thing, but actually the things started to get changed since 2008. Now actually what happened in 2008? 2008 was a time when the China did something which irritated the India. What China did? China at this point of a time started to declare Arunachal Pradesh as a part of the Chinese territory, and even many of the Arunachal towns, they were renamed as with the Mandarin names. Moreover, during this particular time, the stapled visas were given to the Indian citizens who were living into the Jammu and Kashmir into the Arunachal Pradesh. Stapled visas were a separate category of visas that were given to them, and the stapled visas indicated that actually any person living in Arunachal Pradesh, Jammu Kashmir, particularly the Arunachal Pradesh, if they want to come to the China, they don't need to take a formal visa that another people need. Why? Because China said that you are in a way the part of the China only. So this stapled visa controversy, renaming the Arunachal cities, claiming Arunachal Pradesh as a part of a China, was something which irritated India. And since 2008, India started referencing the One China principle policy as India accepts it. And in 2010, actually what happened, there was a meeting of the Indian Prime Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh with the President of the China, as well as with the premier of the China, there was a meeting in 2010, and there we did not repeated this one China policy, and we said that we are not going to do this particular thing, because if China doesn't takes our sensitivities into account, we are also not going to do that thing. India provided this particular thing that if China wants that we should support the one China principle, then China has also has to respect this one India principle. And what is one India principle? One India principle means that the sovereignty of India can never be violated. Arunachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, it is always has been a part of India and will always be the part of India. So in this particular capacity, if China will not respect that, India is also not going to talk anything onto this one China principle. So since then we have not repeated it, and even now neither we have supported it nor we have rejected it. This is the studied silence of India. This is the studied silence of India. Now guys, even on these particular things the questions can be asked. Now at the same time guys, there is also the response of the Sri Lanka on this particular crisis. So let's discuss that what is the Sri Lanka's response. Now guys, actually the Sri Lanka, it has said that we are committed to one China policy. We are committed to the one China policy. They have supported. Why now that Sri Lanka is doing this particular thing? Because presently Sri Lanka needs the support of China, because Sri Lanka is going under the economic crisis, and there the financial assistance, the resource assistance, it is needed to the Sri Lanka. So they don't want to irritate the China, so therefore they have repeated this particular thing. But guys, it is also going to be very difficult for Sri Lanka. Why? Because you need to understand the situation that is going in Sri Lanka. So number one, Sri Lanka is right now asking for the support, financial support by the IMF under the extended fund facility. Now the IMF, it is deciding on this particular facility, and by the end of the year the monetary assistance from the IMF will actually come to the Sri Lanka. Now the issue is that within the IMF, the USA, it has a strong hold. So if the Sri Lanka will show a lot of support to the China, the USA might get irritated, and basically USA might create some trouble for the Sri Lanka through the IMF route. Secondly guys, during the same time, the Sri Lanka has also asked the financial assistance from the two countries, that is the India and China. India had already provided around $3.5 billion assistance. At the same time, the assistance has been asked from the China. For the further assistance, India and China not have given any clear signals. Now guys, at the same time, there is one more strategic trouble in which the Sri Lanka has trapped. Now what is the issue? Issue is about the Yuan Wang 5. So what is first of all this Yuan Wang 5? It is a Chinese vessel, it is a Chinese ship which is involved in the space and the satellite tracking. Now this particular ship, it is scheduled to arrive on the Hambantota port of Sri Lanka by the August 11. Now India had said very clearly to the Sri Lanka that if you will allow the docking of the Chinese ship on the Hambantota port, which is very much near to the Tamil Nadu, we will not see it positively, because this particular thing will start a precedent that the Chinese will use the facility of the Hambantota port for the docking of the ships, which might impact the national security of India into the long term. So India had said that Sri Lanka should not allow the docking of this Yuan Wang 5 in the Sri Lanka. But Sri Lanka has not given a very clear response in this particular thing. So we need to see that what Sri Lanka is going to do. If Sri Lanka will allow the ship, obviously the Sri Lanka's relation with the India will get impacted, and if the Sri Lanka will not allow, then the relation with the China will get impacted. Here if it supports the one China principle, relation with the USA will be impacted. If it doesn't support, then again with the China it will get impacted. So with the economic crisis, China is also facing a kind of a geostrategic crisis, geopolitical crisis in this particular direction also. So guys, I hope that you have understood this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. Now this article, again I repeat, is very important guys. Even if you want, you can again rewind back and can see this particular article, very important with respect to the changing dynamics in the Southeast Asia region. Very important. Now moving to the next, SOP or welfare debate. Fine. Now this particular article guys, it is talking about the freebie issue. therefore will be important for GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, electoral reforms. GS paper number 2, electoral reforms. Guys, from I think yesterday as well as the day before yesterday, we have discussed the freebie issue. So guys, in conjunction, you need to see all these particular things in detail, and this is the way actually that you cover the entire issue, and the issues are something which are asked into the paper. Now just to recap the background, fine, if you are seeing it from the past 2 days, very good, but still let's revise the background for this particular thing. So guys, when we talk about the freebies means the free entitlements, irrational entitlements often that are being given to the people. For example, giving the scooty, giving a gold chain. If I will, for example, I say I win an election, I will give you a gold chain. If I win an election, I will give you a mobile phone, I will give you a kind of a tablet, okay, or an iPad. What are these? These are the freebies. Now these freebies have been called as irrational. These freebies have been called as that they don't go in line with the developmental politics. Developmental politics need to be fought on the issues such as the health, hunger, poverty, etc. But these freebies are not rational. Fine. So this is something that is happening. Now guys, because of this particular freebie issue, the Supreme Court has asked the government that okay, what we can do in order to curb this particular freebie culture. Then the Supreme Court, after that, the first was this. Then secondly, what Supreme Court did, Supreme Court said that we are going to constitute a committee, and this particular committee is going to decide that how this freebie culture can be curbed. Supreme Court has said that we don't expect that the parliament is going to bring any kind of a thing on that, because every party want to give the freebie for their vote bank politics. So Supreme Court said that we are going to constitute a independent committee in this particular thing. So this committee will be now constituted. Okay, so this is something that has happened over the past few days. Now guys, and meanwhile, even the Prime Minister had said that this freebie culture is wrong. He had referred to this freebie culture as the Revdi culture. Fine, he had referred to this freebie culture as the Revdi culture. Now guys, let's discuss further this particular issue. Now, first of all, when we talk about this freebie, there is a general concern in this particular. First of all, freebies are wrong. It creates an economic burden. It deviates the electors from voting on the issue, the politics based on issues. This is the problem. But at the same time, there is also one genuine problem, that what actually constitutes the freebie and what are the legitimate welfare programs. What is a freebie and what is a legitimate welfare program? Deciding this particular thing is actually a problem. However, in this particular direction, guys, if you remember, just the day before yesterday, I have even taken one entire editorial which discussed this particular thing, that how sometimes the midday meal scheme is called as a freebie, free ration is called as a freebie, education is called as a freebie, but no, they are not freebie. These are the legitimate welfare entitlements that are to be given to the public. So it is not very clear that what is a freebie and what is a legitimate social justice entitlement. So this is first of all the biggest problem. Now guys, the Supreme Court has actually decided to form a body of the stakeholders which will examine this particular thing. At the same time, Chief Justice of India has made this particular thing clear that they are not going to impose anything, because guys, then that will be an example of judicial overreach. Supreme Court had said that just they are going to consolidate the recommendations, and in this particular capacity, this body that they have established, it will take the suggestions from the Niti Aayog, Finance Commission, Law Commission, Reserve Bank of India, political parties. It will take the suggestion, that suggestion will be consolidated and it will be provided to the government, then the government should implement it. So this thing has been provided by the CGI. Now guys, when we talk about the freebie issue, for the freebie issue, there is one important judgment of the Supreme Court that we have, and you could mention this particular judgment in your answers. So the judgment is S. Subramaniam Balaji versus Government of Tamil Nadu, judgment of 2013. Now this particular judgment, Supreme Court heard this particular matter of freebie, and in this particular judgment, actually two things happened. These two developments are very important. Number one, what happened? Guys, at that point of a time, Tamil Nadu had distributed many of the consumer goods such as the mixer grinder, TV, etc. to the public. So it was a question that whether these distribution of TVs, etc. is a freebie or is it something a legitimate thing that has been done by the government. Now Supreme Court has upheld, according to the Supreme Court, this distribution of TVs, other consumer goods such as the mixer grinders, etc. Fine. Supreme Court said that no, it is not an irrational freebie. Supreme Court, now you might be amused in hearing this particular thing, but yes, Supreme Court said that it is not a freebie, rather it is a social justice entitlement that has been targeted at the women, farmer and the poorer section. So the women, farmer, poorer section, they need these particular utilities in order to live a life of convenience, and in this particular direction this has been given, so it is not a freebie. The Supreme Court said this particular thing. Even the Supreme Court recognized that this is in line with the directive principles of the state policies. Moreover, it has been said that till the time public funds are being spent by clearing through appropriate legislature. Supreme Court said that the money that came for distributing these TV sets, etc., it was approved by the legislature. So if in that manner the money is coming, then we cannot say that it is illegal. So it was allowed. But at the same time, in this particular judgment, the second development that happened was important. What happened during the same time? Supreme Court asked the Election Commission of India. It asked the Election Commission of India that ECI should frame the guidelines to regulate the content of the manifestos. Fine. So whenever the political party comes, it decides, it has a manifesto in which it says that okay, we are going to do this if we come to power. So it has said that you see what should be there in manifestos so that the freebies could be minimized. ECI, then what happened? It included in its model code of conduct that the manifestos of the political parties, they should not promise the irrational freebies. It has been said they should design their manifestos in such a way that it should vitiate the purity of the election process. Fine, it should not exert the undue influence on the voters. Now, promising too much of the freebies create an undue pressure onto the voters. The personal benefit comes in between. So ECA says that you should design your manifesto in a responsible manner. It provides that within the manifesto, such promises should be made, even only those promises should be made which could be fulfilled. And if you are making a promise, you should also put in your manifesto that how you are going to arrange the resources for a particular promise and why that particular promise will lead to some kind of a welfare. For example, let's say if a political party writes in their manifesto that okay, if we come to the power, we are going to distribute everybody a laptop. Then in the manifesto, political party should also write A, that from where the fund will come, and second B, that how it leads to the social justice. What is the logic, rational in adding this particular thing, that is distributing of laptops. So this is the guy's entire issue with respect to the freebies. Fine. So guys, I say many number of times to you that reading newspaper every day is very important, because then you actually create a link, connection and interconnection between the things that are unfolding over the days. So we need to connect this particular article with the developments that we have seen into the past 2 days as well. So that is all about it, and now we'll move to the next article. So waiting for now this particular article, waiting for democracy in Jammu and Kashmir, has been taken from the editorial section. So guys, this particular article, it has come because today is 5th of August, and 5th of August is the third anniversary of the there is a third anniversary when, as in 2019, we changed the status of Jammu and Kashmir. The Article 370, which gave the special provisions for the Jammu and Kashmir, it got changed, and the Jammu and Kashmir's status was actually changed. Now this entire issue we are going to discuss in this particular article. Fine. Now one particular thing is that many of the references have been given in this particular article which are little bit political. Those particular references and such kind of a content is actually not very important for our examination. So just you need to see the overview of this particular article. Moreover guys, whatever has happened with respect to the Jammu and Kashmir, it is a very, very important aspect of the facet of our national security. So even if a question is coming into the UPSC, you cannot go outrightly and say that no, when we changed the status of Jammu and Kashmir, this was something wrong, something illegal that happened. You can say that there might be some of the routes that have been taken which might not go in line with the constitutional, which might not be ideal actually. You have to support it. You cannot say that it is outrightly wrong, illegal, which has happened. Your personal opinions could be in that particular line, but for examination you need to keep this particular thing very clearly in your mind, because this is a very important matter of our national interest. Now guys, when we talk about the Jammu and Kashmir, on 5th August 2019, Centre scrapped the provisions of Article 370 that gave Jammu Kashmir special status. For example, the laws of the India, the laws that were to be implemented in the mainland India, other parts of the India, they could apply to the Jammu and Kashmir only when the Jammu and Kashmir's legislature would have allowed it. Jammu and Kashmir was given a right that they can have their different constitution, okay, and all those particular things. So all that special status was scrapped by in 2019. The Jammu and Kashmir got further reorganized by the virtue of this Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act of 2019. Jammu and Kashmir is a state got split in two parts. One became the Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory, other became the Ladakh Union Territory. Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory was promised that it will be given a legislative assembly, and then it was also promised that the Jammu and Kashmir over the period of time will be further be changed into the full-fledged state. All these particular things happened in 2019. Now guys, the article says that still the process of extending the rights and benefits of Indian democracy to the state of Jammu and Kashmir has not been successful. It has been restricted. It has been said that 3 years down the line, still there are the several hundred people who have been arrested and they are waiting without the trial. Many of the people who were the dissidents against the government's step, many of them have been put into the jail. It has been said that at the same time, many of the human rights defenders, they have also been put into the detention. So this has been said that actually the liberties or the freedoms of the people have not been completely provided. Then the next issue that comes here is that basically within the Jammu and Kashmir, it was promised that the elections will be organized, and for the election, the delimitation process where the constituencies were demarcated, constituencies were identified, so delimitation process happened. But even though the delimitation process is completed, legislative assembly elections still have not been announced. 3 years have happened, legislative assembly elections have not been announced. For all this entire year, the president rule has been imposed onto the Jammu and Kashmir, nearly for 4 years. At the same time guys, it has also been provided that the state's economy also got impacted, first of all because of the restrictions that were imposed after the change of status in 2019, and in 2020-2021 because of the lockdown restrictions that got imposed. Here it has been said that according to many of the reports from the Niti Aayog, it was provided earlier before the change of the status that the Jammu and Kashmir was one among the top performing states, but now the Jammu Kashmir ranks at the bottom. At the same time guys, this particular year the Jammu Kashmir's economy might do little bit well because there are large number of tourists that are going to the state, but at the same time the fruit industry, manufacturing, carpet industry, handicraft industry, it has seen a kind of a decline. So government needs to do something here. After guys, at the same time is that the first step in order to ensure the cooperative federalism is to announce the assembly election, and this particular thing needs to happen fast. Moreover guys, as in 2019 it was promised that eventually Jammu Kashmir will be restored to the statehood. So now it is being said that 3 years have happened down the line, we should decide on this particular manner. Moreover, it has been said that right now the parliament is meeting as a part of their monsoon session, and now the parliament should allow the Jammu Kashmir to revert back to the statehood status. So it has been said that now we are observing the 75th year of independence, and in this 75th year of independence, this is going to be a great symbolic expression if we again give the statehood to the Jammu and Kashmir. So this is what this article says. That's all about this particular issue guys, and now we'll move to the next article. Now, remembering an expulsion, remaking opportunity. So this particular article guys talk about the India-Uganda relations, and therefore going to be important in GS paper number 2, international relations, India's relations with the African countries. Fine. Now guys, moving on in this particular direction. So basically now first of all, here you can see that here is Uganda. Now, so basically here we have the map of Africa, and on the map of Africa here you can see the Uganda. So you can see the neighbors of the Uganda. There is a Sudan, then there is Kenya, okay, then guys there is Tanzania, Tanzania also shares a boundary with the Uganda. Then there is Rwanda, after that there is a Democratic Republic of Congo. So all these countries are the neighbors of Uganda. Now guys, basically this article is talking about the 1972 Ugandan crisis. Now what is this 1972 Ugandan crisis? First of all, let's discuss this. So in August 1972, at that point of a time, the Ugandan dictator, that is Idi Amin, At that point of a time, he gave the ultimatum to entire Indian community that was living there. So guys, a lot of Indians were living in the Uganda. First of all, how the Indians reached to the Uganda. So basically guys, the Uganda was the part of the British territory, fine, in the colonial times, and at that point of a time many of the Indians were taken to work on many of the plantations in the Uganda. So they stayed there, and for many years the Uganda became their home. So many of the members of the Indian community living in Uganda at that point of a time, they were the ones who were born in the Uganda, and they have known Uganda as their place, or as their native place. So at that point of a time, when in 1972 the Indians were given the ultimatum by the Ugandan dictator that they have to leave the country, otherwise they have to face the consequences. At that point of a time, 50,000 Indians were living in the Uganda, and they don't know any country where to go. And some of them, because of this particular thing, the ultimatum that was given, many of them, they flew to Kenya, some went to Canada, and many of them actually went to the United Kingdom. They left all their business, properties, everything behind. However guys, what happened after few years, fine, there was a civil war that happened into the Uganda, and in 1979 the dictator of the Uganda was removed. At that point of a time, the Indian communities were welcomed back. It was asked that if they want to come, they can come back. But guys, actually what had happened, already their properties were confiscated in between. Fine. Now guys, this particular article explains that, see, when we talk about the Uganda, particularly with the Uganda, India has a particular connection. The connection of Indians living in the Uganda, fine, this is particularly, and this connection needs to be reamed. Now guys, first of all, the article also discusses one more concept, that is the Commonwealth Advantage. Now first of all guys, when we talk about the Commonwealth, there is a association or a grouping. The grouping's name is Commonwealth of Nations. Now the Commonwealth of Nations, it is a grouping of 56 member countries. These 56 member countries are those countries which were earlier the territories of the British Empire, and in this Commonwealth, India is also a participant. Now guys, when we talk about Commonwealth, all the members of the Commonwealth, they have a kind of a commonness in terms of culture, in terms of their history. Fine, all these particular things are there. Now guys, basically the 56 nations of the Commonwealth, they also are united by the single language, that is the language of Britishers, the English. Fine. After that, shared values, similar legal systems have been there, which we have acquired from the British rule. Moreover guys, at the same time, there are many of the trade pacts that have been signed between the Commonwealth nations. It is called as the Commonwealth Advantage. It is actually 21% cheaper. It is 21% cheaper to do business across the member countries. So it is very much clear. So this is the Commonwealth Advantage that is there. Now guys, moreover, basically at that same times, the Commonwealth countries, they also share not just about the trade commonality, but on the education, diplomatic front also, they have a kind of a convergent, they have a congenial relations. The United Kingdom, it is the biggest, one of the largest economy of the Commonwealth, and actually in 2021 the United Kingdom has also signed one MOU with the African countries, and it is actually the first non-African country to sign this particular MOU. Now what is this MOU? This MOU is on African Continental Free Trade Area. Fine. Now this basically this AFCFTA, this agreement allows that the UK can do the trade with the African bloc, and by this particular thing, the African market has been exposed to the UK. So the $3 trillion African market has been exposed to the UK. UK can carry the free trade by the signing of this Africa Continental Free Trade Area agreement. At the same time guys, as Commonwealth nation, the UK has done that particular thing. Now it is the turn for India. India also in line with this particular thing. India being a member of Commonwealth need to leverage on this particular advantage, and with the Uganda we need to start another chapter of Asian heritage. Now it is time that as the UK has done, India should follow the suit. India should follow this particular example. So this is something that has been provided. So guys, with the Uganda we have a shared kind of a history, and we are the part of the Commonwealth, and India should take this particular advantage now. This article suggests this issue. So that is all about it, and now we'll move to the next article. Is the declining rupee a crisis or an opportunity? Fine. Now guys, recently we have seen that the rupee has declined and it has crossed 79 rupees to a dollar mark, and it is impacting the importers. First of all guys, earlier also I have discussed this particular thing, that why rupee is declining so much. One biggest reason that why rupee is declining, it is the FPI exit. It is the FPI exit that has happened. So many of the investors who came and invested in the Indian economy in 2020, fine, many of these investors now they are going back, they are withdrawing their money. Why they are withdrawing their money? Because the Federal Reserve of the USA, the Federal Reserve, that is the central bank of the USA, it has increased the interest rates. Now as the USA has increased the interest rates, it is now more attractive to invest in the USA. So many of the investors who earlier invested in India in 2020, they are pulling back their money, they are taking back their money to the USA, and when they are pulling back their money, obviously now they want dollars. So they have taken the dollar, the demand of the dollar is increasing, and when the demand of dollar is increasing, the rupee's valuation in front of dollar has declined. Okay, that is something. Moreover guys, now even more dollar is needed for another thing. One is, what is the second reason? Second reason is that crude and oil, basically crude oil prices has increased, and as the crude oil prices have increased, we need more dollar, fine, to pay back, to pay for the oil imports. Now as more dollars demand again is coming from that front, fine, again it has put the pressure onto the Indian rupee. Indian rupee has declined, and guys, when Indian rupee is declining, what happens? The importers are impacted, because obviously when you have to pay for the import, obviously that money will be paid into the dollars, and if the dollar will become expensive, the pressure on the importers will be there, number one. Number two, the current account deficit is increasing. Okay, imports have become expensive. Now basically this particular article has made an assessment that there is also some kind of a positive impact that is associated in this direction. Now what the article says that, see, we don't need to be too much worried with respect to the decline of rupee that has happened, because it has been said that, see, when we see the depreciation, fine, there could be the two dimensions of seeing the depreciation. One is the nominal exchange rate and other is the real exchange rate. Fine. Now guys, let me give you I will give you a little bit about idea about this nominal exchange rate and the real exchange rate. Now see, first of all, when we talk about the nominal exchange rate, what it means? It simply means that what is the price, what is the value of one currency in front of another currency. What is a nominal exchange rate? Let's say today $1 is equal to 80 rupees. Let's assume $1 is equal to 80 rupees. So this is simply the nominal exchange rate. Fine. But then guys, there is the real exchange rate. What is the real exchange rate? Real exchange rate is calculated by a particular formula. Okay. First of all, you have a nominal exchange rate. Then you multiply this nominal exchange rate by the ratio of prices between the two countries. So ratio of prices between country 1 and ratio of prices between country 2. Now let me give you one very simple example in this particular thing. Now when we talk about the real exchange rate, let's say between the India and USA, so you need to take any particular good. For example, let's talk about any particular thing. Let's talk about a pizza. Okay, a Domino's pizza. Okay, any Domino's pizza. Let's say a Domino's farmhouse pizza. Suppose this Domino's farmhouse pizza is sold in India as well as it is sold in USA. So basically there will be some price of this particular pizza in India and some price of this pizza in USA. Let's say in India this particular pizza is being sold for 100 rupees, but in USA this particular pizza is, let's say, being sold for $5. So this is the price in India, and this $5 it is the price in the USA. Now what we are going to do, we will take the nominal exchange rate, and will multiply this particular rate with the prices of pizza in India and the prices of pizza into the basically the other country. Fine, just a minute. So what we'll do, do this particular calculation, and that particular calculation we will find the real exchange rate. Now what this particular article says that the nominal exchange rate on this particular front, we have seen a kind of a decline. Yes, that is fair, because more than 79 rupees a dollar is trading. But at the real exchange rate, if you calculate on this particular formula, you will find that rupee has not really depreciated. So guys, the country's inflation, all these particular things come in between. So on that particular front, the rupee's depreciation is not that much. Secondly guys, basically into the last 2-3 decades, the sensitivity of exports have been weak as far as the change to real exchange rate is concerned. Okay, so it is not actually, first of all, I'll tell you one particular thing, that whenever the dollar will become stronger, that particular dollar's price will increase, the importers will face a problem, but at the same time the exporters will face an advantage of this particular thing. So guys, basically it has been provided that what has happened, the exporters number 2, as the dollar has increased, they are getting a benefit out of that particular thing. Okay, many times guys, actually the exporters, when they export, before that they have to import certain of a components. So in India we many times says that okay, exporters even are not getting a lot of benefit, because though the basically a strong dollar will impact them, but first of all time, many times before exporting they have to import a lot of things, they assemble and then they'll export. But guys, even the imports have not basically impacted too much because of the real exchange rate wala concept. Fine, so even the exporters, they are getting a benefit, and with the imports also they are not getting impacted. So it is not a very big problem right now. Moreover, third point also I will give you here guys, it is that right now majorly even the strong currencies are getting impacted. For example, the yen of Japan as well as the pound also had got impacted, and their depreciation is more than 10%, but in that front India's slide is not that much problematic. Moreover guys, it has also been said that right now this particular decline of rupee, however, should serve a lesson for India, is that basically right now the Sri Lanka is facing a kind of a crisis. So we should get a lesson that India's foreign exchange is basically India's rupee which is depreciating, it will lead to bleeding of the foreign exchange reserves, and as there will be the bleeding of the foreign exchange reserve, there might be a problem for the India that came, because for the Sri Lanka also the problem started when their foreign exchange reserves decline. So we need to take a lesson that India should not go the Sri Lanka way. So it should give us a lesson. So therefore it is a kind of an important episode. Reserve Bank of India has recently said that even they are having a capacity, they can spend $100 billion to maintain that the rupees comfortable range is maintained. Now guys, how the RBI is going to spend $100 billion? See, whenever basically suppose FPIs are exiting, now obviously they want a dollar. If they will be demanding dollar, and if dollar is not available, obviously what will happen, dollar's price will go up and the rupee will become weak in front of dollar. So at this point of a time, RBI will flood the dollar into the market so that the dollar prices don't go too much up. So in that capacity, RBI had said that today we are prepared to spend even $100 billion if needed to defend the rupee. But even that particular need will not be required, because guys, India at the same time, India's exports are also becoming stronger. So guys, the article says that the currency depreciation, it is not as per se bad, it even provides a competitive advantage sometimes to the exporters. India need to rethink the policy rules. India need to rethink that how we can strengthen our exports so much that actually we are able to absorb the impact of the import bill that is rising. So this is something that is provided. That is all about it, and now we'll move to the next article. Iran nuclear talks restart in Vienna with European Union mediation. Now guys, basically you don't need to go too much into the detail in this particular article. I'll explain you first of all. By the way, this article is important for our GS paper number 2, international issues. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the Iran, Iran in the past has done the nuclear enrichment. Now what is this nuclear enrichment? By the way, I have explained this particular thing couple of days back, but I'll explain again. So when we talk about the uranium, fine, in the natural form, when the uranium is found, in the uranium there are two isotopes. There is U-235, and then there is U-238. Now guys, this U-235 in the natural uranium, its composition is just 0.7%, and U-238, its composition is actually more than 99.3%. But guys, for using the uranium as a source of energy, we need this U-235, fine, which is actually just 0.7%. Here you can see on this particular picture. So we enrich the composition of this U-235, and this process is called as uranium enrichment. Now guys, if you enrich the uranium to 5%, you can use that uranium for energy, for electricity. If you enrich it to 20%, it can be used for the nuclear research reactors. How if we enrich it to 90%, it can be used for making weapons, for bombs, nuclear bombs and all those particular things. So Iran is enriching this uranium. Now guys, basically the Western countries say that Iran is enriching this uranium to make a war grade uranium. Now for this particular thing guys, onto the Iran a large number of sanctions were imposed. But in 2015, what happened in 2015, joint comprehensive plan of action was signed. Joint comprehensive plan of action. So this joint comprehensive plan of action was signed between Britain, China, France, Germany, Iran, Russia and USA. In this particular thing, it was said that the Iran will open up their nuclear facilities for international inspection. Iran will not enrich the uranium up to a particular level. What level was allowed? 3.67% maximum enrichment was allowed for the Iran. And in return, the sanctions onto the Iran will be reduced. So this joint comprehensive plan of action was signed. But guys, when Donald Trump came into the power, Donald Trump withdrew from this joint comprehensive plan of action. He withdrew from it. And after that, again, this Iran deal fell off. Now guys, what is happening? Iran nuclear talks are going to restart into the Vienna. Who is starting it? European Union is mediating in that. So it is now going to start. Apart from this, now we need to actually see that whether finally it will be successful or not. Now guys, day-to-day development, you don't need to track, okay, today they met, today he said that. No. You need to know this particular background, number one. And number two, in final, we'll see that what will going to happen. Will it be passed or not? If passed, what are the conditions? We'll see that. So I hope you understood it. So that is all guys about this particular article, and with this we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. Guys, I hope that you are understanding it, and you hope that the effort that we are making in creating this particular analysis along with the research and all these things are helping you in your UPSC's journey. Guys, if you have liked this initiative, please do consider hitting a like button, and please do consider leaving a lovely comment of you, because it is a very important aspect in driving our energies towards this initiative. So thank you so much. Now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves. Take care.